Hello YouTube and welcome to GrunfWorks. This is episode 4 of the Interplanetary Voyage of Exploration. In this episode we will try to actually get a probe into orbit. So in previous episodes we were just popping into space, but this time we will actually try to get into orbit. And since I would very much like to use the first orbit to discover a little bit more about Kerbin and its topography and everything, I thought it would be only fitting to research scan-set parts so that we can actually map the altimetry and maybe map the biomes of the Kerbin. So we will most definitely... Now I'm weighing pros and cons, but I'm inclining towards going for the actual scan-set probes or scan-set science equipment. Telescope a little bit too expensive, and I'm thinking, why would we explore outer space when we have not yet even explored Kerbin? Electrics nice, but I can still do a little bit without it. Nothing of that screams necessary. Landing support, this could be useful, but yeah, later. Basic life support, this is definitely the route we want to go. So, technically we could definitely research the scan set. Yeah, so let's do that. And then we have a more advanced, which we're not gonna go into yet. And yeah, landing gear, no. Air intakes, yeah, we can do air intakes, and that would propel us further to jet engines, which I think is fine. Because we want to balance our act between space and Kerbin, so it's only fitting that we explore a little bit more Kerbin's topography, and then maybe we will get back to flying, since we have to recover from the incident from the second episode. Okay, so let us use some upgrade points that we have to increase our building speed, most notably for the VAB, a little bit also for the SR&D and SPH. So they are more or less all of them on par. Okay, cool. And let us proceed to the vehicle assembly building. So this is the mini science probe that we have previously been using. So I'm kind of thinking this might be a valid basis for extending what we want to do with it. So we just need to rethink it a little bit. So if we want to fling something into orbit, we won't be needing the mystery goo because we have already collected that. And we want to first rename it so that we don't overwrite the previous craft. So mini scan-set probe Mark 1. So science things we can leave, but I want to put definitely the altimetry sensor. Put it horizontally like radar, so, and on the other side something equivalent to it. So it's either the spectral imaging or the actual biome scanner. I'm more inclined towards going to biome scanner. By the way, we will just remove this piece because this will not be landing. Anomalous signal sensor, yeah, that one. Okay, so let us see how it looks deployed so nothing gets clogged. That's fine. Let's retract the dish. Batteries, we definitely want to put 4. Solar panels. Okay, looks like my is a bit broken. My fuse box. It's still that we're still generating, although I have no idea how. Oh well, we'll just have to go with the gut, I guess. And if I remove this, nothing changes, so everything is just peachy. Okay, maybe something for the authors of the Fusebox mod to think about, because generation is clearly off. Okay, let's put the solar panels. 4 times at 45 degrees, same as last time. Yeah. Not exactly sure 100%, but definitely parachutes we should remove. After all, we won't be needing them because, as I said, this is designed to go into orbit, and I'm considering of replacing it with the Kerbal attachment system because we might need some other stuff here, so let us see. We will put the 2 containers. I want to get this remote tech antenna out of the way here, just move it to the other side beside the sensor so that I can peacefully place the 2 Kerbal attachment system container holders. Okay, so that will be... Oh, it's 1 symmetry, hold on. It has to be double. Okay. Something along those lines. And let us put the container, type A. We don't really need the big one, so we just need to snap. There will be 2 pieces, and we need to roughly balance them out so they have similar load. So, thinking about it, what I want to put inside is some of this Oxstat photovoltaic panels in case some of them break, so I can basically replace them. And additional Communitron 16 wouldn't hurt, just in case antenna stops working. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I do not have any other big favorites. Multispectral imaging platform. I don't know. I think we're good. At least for this side. Then on the other side I want to do something roughly the same, so 30 kilos on the other side as well. So let's see. Yeah, there can we put 1 multispectral imaging platform if we won't decide to fit it. And what else can we put? Just leave it as is. There we have 15, here we have 30. Just kind of thinking out loud. Sorry. So I put here 35. Not really any specific reason, just populating with the stuff I might need. and we have to rethink the launch stage, because this time we really want to get into orbit, which with far is 3.6 thousand, but I'm kind of figuring I do want more just for security reasons, and I probably will be putting this into polar orbit, because ScanSat can then more easily scan better cover the map. So if we'll just be passing equatorial, we won't be covering the whole Kerbin, so it would need to go into the polar orbit. So now I'm trying to add more tanks while I'm keeping my eye on the thrust to weight ratio. So right now we have 4.463, which might be pretty decent. And the thrust to weight 1.7, which I think it's pretty much perfect. So let us go for launch. Let us simulate the vessel. I basically want to just have a brief simulation. I don't need more than 2 hours, and I just want to see that the craft will take off easily and that the imbalance in the Kerbal attachment system containers will not cause it to keel over and do all kinds of ridiculous things. So, without further ado, yeah, I'm aware this is a simulation. Thank you very much for reminding me. Okay, let's launch it. Lift off, 1.7 thrust to weight, healthy thrust to weight. Looks like the speed is climbing nicely, and the craft seems more or less nicely balanced. So yeah, I'm just basically want to make sure that I can, and I'm just kind of probing which direction to thrust or to steer the craft towards, to make sure that I get north heading, because I want to be heading north. So yeah, just angling ever so slightly to make sure that I'm pointing in the right direction. Since this is clearly a new probe, or let's call it a satellite, I want to make sure that I have enough delta V and good enough steering to make sure that it reaches orbit. So the simulation's goals are basically to double check that. Okay, apoapses soon go over 70 kilometers and past the 70, which is definitely nice, with us still burning the initial stage and having, I think, more than enough delta V than we need. So I'm just now testing to see at the apoapsis how much delta V we would need to be able to circularize our orbit, to get the polar orbit. So that's roughly 1,600, and we have total 1,900, which seems good enough in my book. And we are still connected, so I'm just double checking if we can use the flight computer to execute the burn in our stead. I mean, it will probably run out of delta V at a certain point, but then we will just stage it manually, so hopefully that should be fine. That was also one aspect that I really wanted to check. So now it started executing, and I'm monitoring as it runs out of delta V. I will just stage it. and continue burning. I'm also curious to see if it will stop or not. So let's see. And stage, and yeah, I'm pretty much confident that we will get into orbit that we need. Alright. So looks like our simulation has more or less been successful. And sometimes it's also pretty easy to forget that you are actually doing the simulation. So I actually started here to start the scans and everything. I also wanted to see a little bit our consumption, which is healthily chugging up a little bit too much of the juice, more juice than I would like. So yes, I will probably have to deploy scanners alternatively. But okay, so let us now revert to the editor. For all I care, simulation was successful. However, what I am thinking about is adding another set of solar panels, just to make sure that given our power consumption we do not run out of power. And it will require me repositioning. Whoops. Double symmetry, please. Just to see on the other side that it's not colliding with anything. It seems like it's not. Maybe just put it a little bit more down. Yeah, that looks like much better. Alright, how was our delta V looking? Still good enough. So I'm pretty much thinking we should start and go and build this thing. The simulation was successful, so yeah, might as well. Let's build the vessel. By the way, I really like how Kerbal Construction Time does require you to think things through, because it adds a lot of time to your effort and everything. So the time is passing, the transfer windows are not getting any better, so you might as well consider a little bit more of what you're doing and how you're doing. So it does impact your gameplay. I don't still feel that I have come to the point where I'm using the maximum potential, because that will happen when we will start to have multiple flights and some longer lasting flights at the same time. So that's clearly something that we want to utilize, so that we are not flying a Kerbal space mission, but a Kerbal space program consisting of multiple missions. However, I feel that that part will be coming when we'll start visiting Moon, Minmus, and onwards to Duna and other planets. So, loading for launch. And I'm kind of thinking along the lines, assuming that we get a little bit more information about the topology and everything. In the next episode, I will probably revisit flying around Kerbin and just gathering a little bit science more from there, and hopefully use that science to advance to a point where we could start making the first manned missions to space. This is still testing a little bit of reliability of our launch system, our ability to put things into orbit, because We have only so far yet simulated that we can go to orbit. We have not yet actually taken anything into orbit. Just something to consider. And as you can see, it's mildly cloudy over the Kerbal Space Center. Cloud layer clearly provided by Environmental Visual Enhancements, or EVE. Like the mod very much. It does add a little bit of extra calculations, but yeah, it's a price I'm happily willing to pay to get these nice effects. So, slowly again thrusting towards north. Our apoapse is rising above 50 kilometers, waiting until I get it around 100, and then probably we'll just cruise up to the apoapses and execute the burn at the apoapses. So, yep, 100. Point. And I was thinking no to prograde, but then again we don't really have a node now, do we? So yeah, I'm a little bit jumping ahead of myself. So apoapses, and now stretching the apoapses around Kerbin. Let's see. It doesn't need to be really perfectly inclined, just that it's more or less circular. 1900, and we have total of 2000, so I'm not overly concerned. Sorry. My cold is a bit better than last time I recorded, however, still working on getting better. By the way, if you have seen the first episode and started applying for the program, you will probably see yourself around episode 6 or something, because I recorded the batch of first 6 episodes of the Interplanetary Voyage, so now I'm basically commenting episode 4, so 5 and 6 are already recorded and they will be coming, and afterwards I will for sure put you into the roster. Okay, and now we're circularizing the orbit, so just burning a little of delta V we have to just make sure that we are in the orbit. Fuel is a little bit tight here, and I'm thinking we have an apoapsis of 240 and periapsis of 85, so I want to still raise my periapsis a little. 250 is more or less perfect for the scan set. Scanners, and let's see how much it will take me to get to 240. I don't think that we can get that much, so I will probably... we have 31 of delta V, so that will get us to 125. Yeah, so I think we will just have to live with it. But I mean, still, it would be this is our first actual satellite that's going into orbit, so I'm pretty happy about it. And I hope that it will perform the scans as requested, so we will also leave it to gather science for a while, and probably in one of the future episodes I'll just collect the science and send it for processing. So yes, now we're just deploying the antennas, so the BT-DT and the altimetry sensors. Alright. So yeah, everything is deployed, so I'm just cruising up to the apoapsis and hopefully executing the planned maneuver and raising our periapsis a little bit more. It is not ideal, but since it's our first satellite, I don't really care. I'm pretty happy as it is. It's a big achievement putting a first probe into the orbit, and also since I'm playing with remote tech, we don't have a communications network yet, so I had to basically book the maneuver, which will be executed now in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and burn. And that's it. So that is our periapsis 127. That's fine. It has enough power. It's a little bit now in the darkness, so it's consuming power, but at least we can see that ScanSat is already providing the planetary mapping and that BTDT is already showing percentage, so definitely that's a good thing. So after a while we will have enough information about Kerbin. Okay, so this mission is clearly a success. Alright. Let us just see if we can do an orbit or two, just... Yeah, and also, while we're up, we also have some gravity scan that we could do, but I'm kind of... it's kind of hard for me to accelerate because I'm aware that Science Alert does provide the possibility to stop the time warp, but I found this feature to be a little bit annoying. If you just are trying to fly and you get constantly interrupted, it's not really a fun experience. So if I hit it, I hit it. If I miss it, I miss it. So I'll just hit it with another craft that will be flying around. Yeah. Alright. Looks good enough. At least it's kind of providing information from the orbit. Gravity scan from space. Sensor detects variances under the surface of the ice. Is there a landmass underneath? Well, good question. Maybe in one of the future episodes we will actually send a plane or hopper to the ice caps and see if there's a landmass there. Yeah, but for now I'm kind of thinking that in this episode we will leave it at this, and in the next episode, once we get a little bit more science, we will hopefully start rethink our flying program around Kerbin. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you like the episode. If you like the episode, please do like the episode, and for more KSC content, please hit that subscribe button. Let me know also what you think in the comments below. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and this is GrunfWorks signing off, but not before I revisit the tech tree just quickly. See if there are any things that I can unlock. Landing support. No, actually I'm good. Thanks again for watching. This is GrunfWorks signing off.